During this latest sell-off in Bitcoin, a lot of people have come up with all kinds of interesting stories about why Bitcoin has gone down. Wait a minute, I'm getting an alert. Oh, Elon Musk says Bitcoin is environmentally unfriendly. I'm selling all of my Bitcoin right now. Oh wait, China is banning Bitcoin too? Okay, I'm going to be selling for that reason too. Actually, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make fun of this idea that Bitcoin follows the news, that because Elon Musk has done something or China has done something, that is actually the reason why things are acting the way they are. The truth is that once there's a downtrend in Bitcoin, which happened a few months ago, basically any kind of news story that's negative would cause it to go down. And the way it works is, for big institutions, if they want to unload, they'll wait for like some story that's negative, so that way it's kind of a way of hiding the fact that they want to sell a large number anyway. And also, some of these big institutions actually pay media companies to make negative news stories in newspapers as a way of causing the masses to sell their Bitcoin, because the truth is there are a lot of funds that actually wanted to buy Bitcoin, but they didn't want to do so and in the $60,000 range. So it actually is very, very convenient if you're able to pay some money to some influential media journalists, get the Bitcoin going down, and then from there you actually are in a very good position to actually benefit from that, because you could buy it, and then all of a sudden you stop paying for the negative news stories and maybe even put some positive stories, and things start to go up, and from there things start to naturally work their magic and it goes up again. As an example of something that's positive that could cause the market to go up, even though it shouldn't fundamentally, is when El Salvador said that for people who want to realize their gains in Bitcoin, they won't have to pay taxes in that country. And the truth is that's a very, very small country, so it shouldn't really matter in terms of demand. But I think some people are starting to say maybe other countries will adopt this in the future. So in that case, a news story can cause people to start thinking about what will happen in other places. Maybe this will happen in Canada and Europe, and maybe even in the United States, where one day people say, well, since Bitcoin is legal tender, there shouldn't be a capital gains tax on realized gains on Bitcoin. So that would cause that to rise, because that would mean it's a far better investment than stocks in some ways, because it would be tax-free. Now, of course, that hasn't happened yet, but sometimes people can get ahead of the news. So the best way to trade Bitcoin is actually not to really look at the news, because the news doesn't really tell you exactly what's happening. Sometimes the news actually runs counter to the chart. For instance, when China actually banned Bitcoin and said they don't want any more, they don't want people to be mining cryptocurrencies in Inner Mongolia, where electricity is very, very cheap, the price of Bitcoin went down. But that doesn't make sense, because the truth is that if you take out the supply of new Bitcoin, the price would actually go up, because the supply is even more constrained, but the demand is actually probably either rising or about the same. I would actually say that the demand for Bitcoin is actually rising. So what's interesting is that in the past, the same story about China banning Bitcoin and not allowing people to mine it, it actually caused China actually did the same thing today, same thing recently, and actually Bitcoin is actually going up. And I think it's because in reality, in the long run, if China actually starts to ban cryptos and bans mining, that's actually very good for the price of Bitcoin, because you basically are making it so that the supply is even more constrained and the price should actually rise. And what's actually also good about that, it actually makes Bitcoin even less susceptible to the so-called 51% attack rule. Now, what the 51% attack rule is, basically if one actor was able to get 51% of all the mining that existed, it could theoretically allow people to do a double spend. So that's a real risk that exists. But if China is leaving the market completely, I think that would actually mean that the cryptos would be even more decentralized, because it would mean that the mining would probably enter some other location of the globe that allows for relatively inexpensive electricity. And the other issue about this is that it could be that this means that mining Bitcoin becomes an even more expensive proposition, because if you take away the cheap electricity, does it mean that there's going to be a lot less crypto that's being made in terms of Bitcoin, and the price would rise pretty dramatically. In fact, I also believe another reason for Bitcoin going up has to do with the fact is that the price never really did dip below 30,000. That seemed to really be a very hard limit, and it really had a very tough time going below that. And I think that suggests that this was a correction, not a bear market. Now that might seem surprising, considering that crypto was able to go down about 50% in a few months, and if the stock market did that, that would be a pretty severe bear market. But crypto is a completely different animal. If it goes down 50%, that's not necessarily a bear market. That could be a correction. Bear markets with cryptos tend to be far more severe. Tends to go down around 80 to even 97% or something like that. So that's pretty dramatic. And what would actually cause the next bear market in crypto? Well, I think we can already know what that is. If the dollar rises in value or becomes a better asset class, it would actually cause cryptos to decline a lot. So what will cause that? Well, if the Federal Reserve decided to raise interest rates a lot, and a lot of money entered the dollar as a result, that would definitely change things around quite a lot. Now, that would usually the Federal Reserve is pretty quick in terms of telegraphing their views about the market or what the interest rates would be. But if they were to raise the rates anywhere in the 3 to 5% range, especially because we're near 0% at the moment, it would actually cause cryptos to decline quite a lot, because I think a lot of the fears of inflation would probably subside, at least temporarily. But the truth is, the Federal Reserve cannot raise interest rates long term, so that would cause a bear market for sure. 80 to 95% collapse in the price, no doubt about it, and that would be very painful for a lot of people. So I'm going to actually tell you how I will try to sell before this bear market happens. So like many of you, I intend to sell before Bitcoin ultimately does really crash. So how am I going to be able to do that? The major reason why I'm going to be able to do that is because I'm going to look at the stock to flow. If the price of Bitcoin is way above the stock to flow, and everybody is talking about how they're going to get rich buying Bitcoin because they're going to get Ferraris and they're going to buy mansions, and the stock to flow is maybe like 10 times above where it is, that's a really major sign that you need to sell and get out of Bitcoin at that point in time. And that would really be a pretty objective time period to get out. And you might be surprised once you sell, because you'll be selling at a real climax top. You'll be shocked by how much money you have, and then you get to have the chance at buying Bitcoin back once things crash and maybe it goes down 80%. So you're able to significantly beat the Bitcoin market as a result if you follow that strategy. That's what I intend to do. But I do not think we are in a bear market at the present time. We're probably halfway through a bull market, and so there still is a lot of opportunities for people to make quite a lot of money on Bitcoin and the fairly good alternative currencies like Ethereum, and also possibly Cardano, and maybe some of the others, maybe Bitcoin Cash, maybe Litecoin, or there's the Polkadot, or all kinds of things. But for the main ones, it definitely will continue to be Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Right. We're here on our walking, and there's a lot of hills up and down and up and down, and that's just like Bitcoin has been over the last few months. It's been going down and then up, and it seems to me, I wouldn't put money on it, but I did myself, but not you guys. Don't pay attention to what I'm doing, but I do think that Bitcoin has reached a low, and it's going to go back up significantly. El Salvador, isn't that the country?
Yep.
They are making that their official currency, so it's starting to become an actual currency for the world, and that's the first of many to come, I believe. And I think that investing in Bitcoin in the long term, people will become very, very wealthy, because I think it's the crypto market is like the new NASDAQ. So here we are, we're going to go back up, because that is what Bitcoin is now doing. At the last look, it was around 37,000. I remember when that seemed pretty outrageously low, just like a month ago, right, Michael? Yep. It was, because it was hovering above the 50s, but now you can get it at 37. But for how long?
I was able to recently buy it at 33.
Yeah, and I added more yesterday around 34. So it's a good thing. So I think that I think a lot of people that recently bought it, they got scared out because they were at a loss.
We were able to buy it from the people who were fearful.
The real hodlers, I think, will be making a lot of money. So that's my take.
Anyway, I hope that I was able to inform you. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.